Okay, this is a Sony GVM 2000. Looks like just a regular standard Trinitron from the 90s, but it's an RGB monitor. This is on S-Video, and it just has a great S-Video picture. I'd liken it to the PVM 2030. Both have 560 TV lines. Here's a quick look at the manual. I can make copies of, or I can just take a picture of each page if somebody wants to take a look at that. So we're going to have S-Video for the movie, S-Video for the N64, and RGB for the Super Nintendo. Let's take a quick look at the back here. That thing is sexy. You can see this one's from 1989. And there's the connections. RGB right there. And I'm using the Pack-a-Punch Super Nintendo cable. The other one I had some fluttering with. If you don't get a good quality RGB cable, you're going to have some problems with the RGB. But the picture on this thing is just outstanding in S-Video. I use it mostly for watching movies, so it's mostly in S-Video. I just wanted to show that it worked on everything. Can't show much for copyright reasons, so. Alright, let's go ahead and switch it over here. This thing just looks outstanding. See, the RGB and the S-Video are on the same board, so if I adjusted, the RGB doesn't take up quite the full screen, you'll see, but if I adjusted it, it would mess up the S-Video slightly, so I've left it just a tiny bit off. And here's a quick look at everything on the left controls the RGB, and everything on the right controls the other stuff. You can see the buttons for, it's an S-Video. If I dropped it down, I want to go to RGB, and it has a tiny little speaker right there that it's going to be using in the RGB. But yeah, it's just outstanding. It is by far my favorite monitor. Just a beautiful 90s Trinitron. But my camera's been having problems, so I'm going to hurry up and get to the RGB before it shuts off. It's just been shutting off for some reason. So all I have to do is push this. And since they're connected, so far I have to turn the bright on to make it the right bright here. That's the Super Nintendo and RGB, and you have to have on the right sync. Like if I push the button in the back on the side over here, this button right there, if you don't have the sync in, watch what happens. I flip this around to the front. I'll push the sync back the other way and look at the side of the screen. Yeah. That's probably what other people have been doing when they said it didn't take up the full screen. So you can see there's a tiny spot on the left right there, maybe a quarter inch that's not fully being used. But all I'd have to do is open it up and go to that board, but like I said, it's connected to the S-Video board, and if I widened it, it would widen the S-Video, and I mostly use this for watching standard definition movies. I got really lucky. A gentleman in Denver, he sold this on Craigslist for 20 bucks. I saw it. I check almost every week, but I saw it, and I contacted him that night. I was like, I'm 100 miles away, but I'll drive over there and get it. So he saved it for me. So he was a retired, or not retired, but he was a engineer, and a company bought this for him to do a couple projects, and he did his projects, and it sat in the corner for about 15 years until I got it. So it's got about whatever hours I put on it, plus the 10 he put on it. I've had it for about 2 years, and it works great. It looks great, and I haven't seen too many videos on the GVM 2000, but it is just a really neat monitor. I like it. You know, again, it's a lot like the 2030, but I think the S-Video on this one's a lot better, and the RGB is about the same on both of them. I don't know how well it's going to come across. It's a Sony Cyber Shot. It's not the best camera, but it's just to give you a general idea about the GVM 2000. If you spot one of these, it's definitely worth picking it up, whether you want to use it for RGB or whether you want to use it for S-Video. And let's switch games. Let's see. Look how clear that is. So yeah, make sure you get a good RGB cable, because for the 2030 I used just cheap $10 cables from whichever seller on eBay, and they worked just fine on the 2030, but using them on this, it caused problems. You definitely want to use high quality ones on this. That is a sexy looking monitor, isn't it? Yeah, so if you have any questions, you can just leave a comment and I'll do my best to answer them. And like I said, I got the manual right here, the service manual if you have any questions. It goes over how to adjust the geometry. I've opened this up a couple times, but like I said, I didn't want to adjust it too much to interfere with the S-Video. Because like I said, I mostly use it for watching movies. You know what I mean, Bilbo?